guys? Welcome back to Gaming Compute. So, if you're just tuning in, you might realize that I just edited the last episode from March 20th. I added some details about what I wanted to talk about for this next episode. Now, these are things I've touched on before, but as we're talking about e-commerce, I really just don't want people to get scammed. I don't want people to get, I don't know what the word is, when you just get too hyped up without any actual plan in place, not wanting to start slow. I've done this before, I talked about it how a few years ago I got well, it's quite a few years ago now, probably like 5 years ago, 7 years ago, I got a bonus from work, an unexpected bonus, and it came in near, or maybe I had a lot of it left over near November. Now, my job wouldn't usually give us raises ever, really. Even if you wanted like 25 cents to 50 cents after being there for years, it just likely wasn't going to happen. You'd have to basically apply for a new job role that paid more. But typically a raise was something you'd really have to debate on. And so you didn't really get raises, but what they did do is they kind of secretly, would recognize the people who were reaching productivity for multiple months, if not like a year or more, and going above the 95% productivity demands on a regular basis. I don't know the exact numbers they were looking for, but I did get the secret bonus a few times. They said, don't tell anybody. It came from the corporate office, and they're like, don't tell anybody, not everybody gets this, and it's not guaranteed every year. It's just if the company has extra money, they would just disperse it that way, and it would come with a letter of recognition, and, but it wasn't something that was, like, announced. There was no meeting or anything. You just go into the director's office or supervisor's office, and they explain it to you. So I got this bonus through work, through a full-time job, working at a clinic, and I blew quite a bit of it on basically products that I had intended to resell on eBay. Now, mistakes. I don't think I really knew the niche too well back then. It was mostly instruments, violins, small instruments that were like easy to repair, and like iPhone parts and things like that. There might have been some other things so long ago, I don't remember. But a lot of it took a while to ship. It cost a lot to ship. I didn't really factor in how much it was going to cost to fix the parts and, or to fix the instruments, how much it was going to cost to sell the instruments, like the total cost. And so I wrote this type of information in the description of the previous episode. I updated it and edited the description where I was talking about TikTok shop violations, webinar suggestions, the pros and cons of using other platforms, and TikTok Shop Seller Central, and kind of my difficulties using that platform in general. But I wanted to start talking more about e-commerce for beginners. I'm not going to waste time and try to tell people they can make millions of dollars. People do actually do that, but I want you to know the details. You need to know the details of what you're doing. Now, I don't think it's a bad idea to get a couple items, especially if you can get them cheap. like reselling video games, certain electronics like Bluetooth earbuds if they're kind of newer. Sometimes laptops, tablets, cell phones, those types of things. You can kind of sell them relatively quick, but the profit margin is not usually that amazing. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. It kind of just depends where you're sourcing your products from. But I'm gonna read some of what I wrote in the description because I just updated it. How are you with e-commerce? Most importantly, do you know how to make money? Will you continue this e-commerce? We will continue this e-commerce discussion. This is not any attempt to get rich quick, but you can supplement your income and get to a place of saving, building, and even outsourcing your work. So I'd say the first goal is make $5, make $10 off of one or two items. Make a profit off of it. Maybe even 3 of the same item. See how long it takes. See how long it takes to source the products, to get the products to yourself. By sourcing, I mean finding where you're going to buy them from, unless it's something that you're actually making yourself. If you're creating a digital product or making some kind of craft, that's a whole different conversation. Basically, you need either software or, Wi-Fi, electricity. You probably also need, like, if you're making crafts, you need whatever the materials are. Like if you're weaving something, or if you're I don't know, braiding something or doing artwork and painting or whatever it may be. You need to know how much your materials cost you, right? Now maybe it's a one-time thing. So if you're painting, you might be buying, you might not need to buy brand new paint just to start a gig like that. Like you might already have paint, you might already have colored pencils, you might already have what you need to get started. You don't have to go buy brand new stuff a lot of times if you already have it around the house. If it's something you already have a hobby doing, like beadwork or something, you probably already have, at least a bit of an excess of materials if it's a hobby of yours, So sometimes if you're either reselling used stuff or, making a craft, you might already have this stuff in your house if it's stuff that you already need. If you're sourcing from somewhere online with the expectation that you're gonna make, a profit off of reselling it, it needs to be something either that you can get fast and cheap with good quality, which is hard to find, because then your profit margins are going to be bigger. But the faster the shipping, usually the more the cost. Usually if you want to ship something from China or some other country where they have factories, they're probably making it for cheaper. And if you're willing to wait like a month or so, you're probably going to get it cheaper. But that's a month that you have to wait to make that money, to even post it and try to make that money. Now, will people even buy your stuff if it's that far out? I mean, if there's competition where they can't get it, like for example, once my friend was getting I think for the Oculus or something, he was trying to get like a gun for his video games through like, I don't know if it was Oculus, I think it was one of those Oculus type of games, Oculus supported games, that kind of VR headset, and he wanted like a gun, and he couldn't find anything. They didn't have them on Amazon. They didn't have them hardly anywhere, and so he ended up paying for waiting the 30 days or whatever from wherever he got it from, because he was like, I can't find anything within like a few days different, so might as well just get the cheapest one. But that's pretty rare. Usually you'll notice for most things you're going to be able to find them at varying price ranges, and that is one of the issues, is that you have to make those decisions. Do you want it faster? That's going to cost you that's going to cost you more. If you want it in better quality, that's going to cost you more if you don't want something used. Do you want it a newer version? That's going to cost you more. All these things cut into your profit margins. And I'm not saying scam people. I'm just saying you got to consider this, because it's easy when you get motivated to just, the psychological part of like, ooh, if I'm motivated and I have the money, those two things together can be a complicated mess. Because what people do is they take the money and the motivation and go spend without a plan. So I would say pay attention to your sourcing, because the goal is to make a profit, and you should have a goal for the profit. The profit is either to recycle back into advertising or into scaling somehow, or buying more products and selling more products. Now you have more inventory, and just knowing that some markets, some niches, they become obsolete. I talked about it before, way back when I used to fix and resell iPhone 6. I mean, I can't do that anymore, Like, what are we going to be on iPhone, like, 16 or something? Like, I don't even think people buy the 6. I mean, it was a good phone, but, I mean, Apple makes it so you can't update anymore after a certain point, and then your apps don't work, and then you just can't really function. Like, you could still technically use the basics, I guess, but if you want full functionality, of the new apps and new updates, and you don't want your phone being all glitchy, you usually need at least the minimum of new phone. It doesn't have to be brand new, but it can't be like the 6 or the 4. I mean, even though I like those because they were smaller. So I'm going to read the rest of this. So this is from the other episode, though. So if you want these notes, they'll be in the other episode, in the description, the episode description. People who are gurus online make hundreds of thousands or millions. People who are gurus online making hundreds of thousands or millions often have money to invest in advertising. Note, they do not often explain their revenue in detail. That is the biggest red flag. I'm actually going to put that in bold. They do not often explain their revenue in detail. Bold and italicize that. So basically, they do not often show profits, and they do not usually share advertising methodologies. When you see this, I'm not saying it's a red flag, but just ask yourself, what is the e-commerce content creator avoiding? How much did they make in profit? How much did they spend on advertising and traffic? So I gave an example here. If I told you that I made $4,000 in one day, that's revenue, right? $4,000 total is what I made. What came into, I don't know, let's say I'm using Shopify. It came into my Shopify dashboard, and it shows I made $4,000 exactly in one day revenue. You will need to know what my overhead was, such as, and it's maybe more than this, but at the very least you want to know how much is my subscription to keep my e-commerce store open. right? Shopify isn't free. How much are product costs, right? Unless you're making something digitally, other than internet and electricity, you're still paying for that, you know. How much are product costs? Even if you're making crafts, you still need materials, or eventually you're going to need to buy them. So if you already have materials you're using and you are selling things, you might be able to use the profit from that to purchase more materials. What are the shipping times? Shipping to you so that you can resell it. How much to ship to the store. So basically, how much is it going to cost to ship from China or somebody else's eBay store to you so you can sell it? How much to ship from the store? So how much money does it cost for the e-commerce store to ship out once you do get somebody who's purchasing from you? And sorry, I messed up. I said, what are the shipping times? I didn't explain. So that means the shipping times to the store. It could cost, say if it's Amazon Prime, that's like what, overnight, maybe even same day. Maybe if it's a weekend or if it's late, let's call it 2 to 3 days max. But then Amazon Prime, again, that's not free, right? It's like $16, $17 a month at the moment when I'm recording this. So that's another expense, right? How much to ship from the store? I think we said that already. And what do the payment gateway and e-commerce platforms take away? How much do they cost? So Shopify isn't a free platform. If you're using PayPal, they take a cut. If you're using Venmo, they take a cut. If you're using any payment gateway, basically, is going to take either a percentage or a small fee just for transferring from your dashboard into your account, right? So these are like the basics, I would say, you want to know, because all that adds up. I mean, think about it. If I told you I made $4,000 in a day, what am I selling to make that? Say if I sold 10 items at $400 each, there's no way that each item costs $400, right? That means that I had to be buying them for less than $400. So let's say if I even am selling them for double, selling them for 400, and say the shipping's free somehow on all ends, and I'm buying it for 200, my Shopify store, if it's open, it's what, like 29 to 39 bucks a month. If I'm paying for traffic, usually it's $25 minimum for most platforms, like on Facebook or TikTok or everywhere. Pretty much you're going to be paying $25 minimum. Or if you're just trying to increase traffic, if you're not doing it in a paid way, you're going to do it, maybe using Pinterest or Instagram or TikTok or whatever. That's going to take time to make videos, to make content. And then you don't even factor into here how many hours you're spending on all this, right? So when somebody says they make that much money, there's a lot more behind the scenes, right? How much are they actually bringing in? They might be bringing in like, I don't know, $1,000. They might be bringing in $500, Maybe they're bringing in $500 and they have $3,500 to spend for a $500 profit. That's not profitable unless you can repeat that, You'd have to repeat it like, what? Like what, 7 more times? You'd have to repeat it 7 more times to break even. I mean, it's hard for me to do all this math in my head because I'm working with hypotheticals, but that's what you need to know at the minimum. And those notes will be in the previous episode. description, but do the math, make a spreadsheet. You know, I was actually I think I posted a spreadsheet, didn't I? I don't know if I posted a spreadsheet on my website. If I do put one up, I'll post a link in this episode to get a free spreadsheet that you can use as a template to figure out costs. I think I made one, but I lost it, guys. I'm not very organized sometimes. Or I am organized, and then I take, like I did, almost a month to kind of get back to what I was doing. So now I don't remember where it is. Let us see. Let me see if I can find it. I just don't know where I put it. I would have saved it. So let me see. I'm going to look and see if I can find it, because I don't remember off the top of my head what I put, but I did create a template that I believe you guys could use to at least track expenses beforehand and after the fact, to see if you're even making a profit. Because if you're not making a profit, you need to make changes. Like, it might look like you're making a profit. A lot of times it might feel like you're making a profit, but sometimes you're breaking even, or maybe the profit margin is like $3, which is fine. I mean, if you don't mind like a small profit margin, there's really nothing wrong with that. I'm not even saying don't do something if you have a small profit margin. I am not saying that at all, because small profit is better than negative, and I'm gonna have to try to find this thing. Alright guys, so I found a photo of the template. It is called Free TikTok Shop Sheet 2024. So basically, you can recreate this yourself. I didn't really make a link for it, and I don't think I saved it, but it's not that hard. You just have to write in the columns. So I put a color key. That's basically, you have one item, and it's color coded by date for that item. So say if you're looking at it, if your first item is who the heck knows what, a watch, and then your second item in dark blue is a pair of earbuds. So basically, the dates that I put, February 1st, you have the item name, which would be that watch, and then February 6th, you'd have the same type of item, which is a watch, and then March 6th, you have the earbuds, and it's color-coded on that first column. Second column, and I put a color code key, and I just put ABC and XYZ for the name, but you would call it whatever you want. Watch, earbuds, probably with the brand name. I put details. So details, if you have a different amount of colors, you could put which colors. If it's white, if it's silver. The next column would be your source link. So I put an example sourcing from Amazon. It shows the link from where you're going to drop ship this item. You can also add to the link the cart, the link from the cart, so that it's easy to reference the prices. That's kind of how I looked at the prices for this example. And the next column is the sourced price. So that would be the price that is listed on Amazon. Now you gotta check these because they change. Amazon changes, eBay changes, Mercari changes, everybody changes, but if you're selling something off of somebody else's store, reselling it, the prices might change. So it's good to keep it in a spreadsheet. I do the cost of shipping from LA to New York in the continental US. So usually, I put in a fake address with like the farthest zip code of either one, pretty much, because that pretty much covers the range of what you're going to be adding to pay for your shipping. So I put, for this example, for the dark blue that we're calling XYZ or earbuds, $18.99 for the sourced price off of Amazon from the link. Let's say it's a white pair of earbuds of whatever brand. This is fake, guys. I'm just making it up as I go. The price to LA, now that's the total. So the item with the cost of shipping to LA is $28.16. Or the price to New York is $29 even. And you could expect the shipping time from LA between March 6th and March 11th, or the shipping time to New York, March 6th to March 12th. I kind of like to know the range of how long it's going to take, because then when I'm listing inventory, I can put it on the store how long it should take max. So if I'm posting this item on March 6th, which is already a long time ago, if I'm posting this on March 6th, the customer should expect to get their item by March 12th. If I'm using the money to buy the item from this Amazon Prime store and shipping it using Prime to them. Say if I put up an ad campaign date for March 6th, and then I would want to put the order number. So let's say this is the third order, because I already sold maybe 2 watches beforehand, and now this third item is a pair of earbuds. Is it done? Yes or no? You just put Y or N. And for revenue, how much revenue? How much do you get back? How much do you get in your dashboard total? And then what's your total profit? When you take out whatever you paid for the shipping, whatever you listed the item for. Now, I didn't put that on here, what I'm listing the item for, right? Because this is a fake example. You would know that for your own items. You want to put that in there. What you're listing your item for, that's a different column you need to add. And then another column you're going to want to add is I'm kind of blanking on what it was. I guess other expenses like Amazon Prime, or if you are doing an ad campaign, you have the date, but you want to also know how much you're spending on ads. So if you say like a flat $25 for 72 hours of advertising, I don't know, but let's just say that that's what you put, then that's pretty much what you would put as a different column in your spreadsheet, and then you basically can see the profit that you're getting with all your expenses. Now, there might be other expenses. I'm trying to think. Actually, when you're drop shipping, you're basically ordering it, putting in your customer's address. So technically, it shouldn't have to come to you first, and then you have to ship it out. So you're saving on an extra shipping cost there by drop shipping. What you're not saving on is if the source you're purchasing from has bad quality items, you might get messed up on that, because you might get returns on your store. And you want to make sure if you do offer returns, it needs to match within the return date of what Amazon would require, because somebody would have to ship it back. And it would be Amazon, that Amazon store that's covering it, not you. If you do have them ship it back to you, you'd have to ship it back to Amazon. And once you send it back to Amazon, there's going to be that time that it takes to get to you, and then the time it takes to get to Amazon. So you want to list those dates correctly on your item description, or just offer no refunds. Usually the payment gateway or the platform will refund the buyer, but you might get dinged, or you might get your account completely canceled, or they might start holding your funds, or they might void any access to that. If you start getting bad, it might get you bad ratings. And depending what platform you're using, if you're not using TikTok, or even if you are using TikTok, honestly, I could see that something like someone saying, okay, product is bad and there's no way to return it or get a refund, they're gonna complain, and then you're gonna get 1 star or no stars or some kind of complaint, and then you'll probably get a violation, or it's gonna affect your shop health, or it's gonna just ban you or freeze your funds, or do something, or just send you like an invoice of you owe this money. So I wouldn't really mess with that. That's a risk. But if you are going to offer refunds and returns, you're going to need to use, the dates that are within the deadline. Because I think Amazon's pretty generous. I think you get like a month, so even if you said 15 days, but then you're still, dealing with all this like back and forth stuff. And I think you still come out of pocket for the shipping. I don't think you get reimbursed shipping, even though Amazon returns are usually free and easy. A lot of times you just take it to like, a designated spot and get the code scanned. So it's not that hard, but you have to have the actual item to be able to get the refund. So, and it's not like, sometimes it's not an immediate refund. Sometimes you have to wait like a week or half a week. So I'm gonna post this picture. It's not gonna be an actual template that you can download, but it's not that hard to recreate. It has some instructions on, explaining, and then you can add more columns like the one I was saying to put more details, but this one is like probably the most basic that you should keep in mind. And again, you also want to know what your fees are. If you're cashing out from TikTok, how much does that cost you? If you're putting it into a bank account, if you're using TikTok, does it cost you money? You're going to need to account for that. If you're, say, using TikTok Shop through Shopify, you can get like a $5 basic store, or like $29.99 a month for if you purchase for the year. That's how much it runs you per month, but you have to pay all at once, I believe, or $39.99 a month. I could be wrong on those numbers, but I think $39.99 a month. And if you're running all of this through like some other website, you're gonna have web hosting to pay. You're gonna have, your annual, or however often you have to pay to keep your domain up. I mean, all of these are expenses. You want to make sure you list out every possible expense, when that's going to be due, because that's the profit you need to be over. You need to make more than that profit per month or per year, but usually by month, or else you're not, if you're under that amount, then you're not profitable. And so, yeah, those are all the things you want to consider. And that's why I say people make it sound like it's so easy. But once you start tracking the money, and especially a lot of people don't have a lot of money to put up front for inventory, or to put up front for advertising, or to put up front for just general advertising, because I know TikTok does their own form of advertising as well. They'll push your products, so just be careful. It's not easy, but be careful. That's about all. That's probably about all I've really got to say. I'll post a link where you can get this picture. I couldn't find the Excel file. I must have either deleted it, or it's really buried in some, well, it's Google Sheets. I couldn't find it, so I must have deleted it. Some reason. I don't know why I would have deleted it, or maybe I just didn't save it, even though it automatically saves, but I have no clue where it is. And I figured once I looked at it, I'm like, this is easy enough. This is easy enough that you could just recreate it in like 1 minute. You can move your color key around, so that it's not like messing up everything. But keep track, guys. You want to make sure you're always profitable.